Western medicine and what it's done. Like the fact that, I mean, I'd go in and they'd ask me a couple questions, or they wouldn't ask me a question. As soon as I say, hey, you know, I'm having this problem, and they're like, they just write a prescription, and I'm all, you didn't even look. I just felt so like, okay, but here's the thing, you can't blame anybody, because whose body is that? That's your body, right? You own that. So own up to it. You know what you're feeling. Who knows your body best? You do.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know how you're feeling, you know what works, you know what doesn't.
Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the show. I am so happy that you're here, and I found you in a place that actually on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook that often, but you came into my awareness. It's the only thing I saw, and I heard your story, or I read your story, and I was like, I need to have her on the show. So thank you so much for being so excited, enthusiastic for coming on. And can you tell the listeners your story about your health journey?
Sure. Yeah. I'm so glad I found you, because this is such a passionate topic for me. So to start, I'm an identical triplet, and what I've noticed is that, you know, we've had the same life growing up, you know, the same diet, the same, you know, we lost teeth at the same time. We have the same birthmark, like everything has just been identical until I got married, and I, you know, went to start my own family, and I changed my diet. And the reason why I changed my diet is because about 15 years ago, my husband almost died. Now we've been together for almost 25 years now. And so we had, you know, a good little run together before kids. And then my husband got sick, and we went to the emergency room 3 days in a row, and they kept diagnosing him with something different. So the bottom line was, it's called a medical practice for a reason. They don't know, you know, they're just practicing medicine. They don't really know, you know, so as we're kind of seeing that not really help us, we were like, you keep saying nothing's wrong, but clearly something's wrong. He's throwing up, he's got diarrhea, he's lost 20 pounds in a week. Like, he's wasting away. I'm going to lose this guy. And we had a friend, he was a chiropractor, and he was a friend from church, and he was just a chiropractor. And I didn't know he did anything different, but he took one look at my husband and said, grab your shaver and your sweats and come to my house. And we're like, okay. Well, apparently he had a wellness center that he had at his home that helps people who are really sick, especially if you didn't know what it was. And that's kind of where our journey started. It was a place where we were fed an all organic vegetarian diet, and they juiced for my husband every hour on the hour. And I didn't need to do the program. Clearly, I just, you know, was along for the ride, but I'm very preventative. I've learned, I see, you know, people make decisions in their life that they end up regretting health-wise. And so I'm very preventative. So when I saw he was doing it, I was like, I'm all in on it, because I want to support you too. I don't want to be like, yeah, how's that carrot juice? I'm going to go get a burger. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm here for you. I'm all in. So yeah, that was a really interesting experience, because we stayed there for about a week. So we got a juice every hour, and then we had this food, which, you know, when you eat actual healthy food, you know, you actually get full. You don't overeat, because I've never heard of anybody overeat on broccoli or kale, right? It's like, I'm full, I've had enough, I'm all set. You know, you're not really, you know. So I remember the first night I was starving because I didn't eat enough, because I'm like, well, that's interesting. I've never had golden beets before, you know. So I go down the hill, there's like a Rite Aid, and I'm like, what's here? Let me snack on. And I mean, but it's like all poison, right? There's no real food in a Rite Aid. So I'm like, oh my gosh, a banana, give me it, you know? So then I just decided to go hungry that night and make sure that I ate enough, you know, the rest of the time we were there. But what I loved about it is, because I'm so preventative, we had we had a lecture every morning and a video lesson every afternoon. But it was at this beautiful place where they had a beautiful garden, like a rose garden, so that you can kind of relax. And then they encouraged us to watch movies that would make us laugh, because laughter is very important and nature is very important. Going for that walk, touching them, smelling them, being in there. And that experience like literally just changed our whole trajectory. I mean, I never would have thought to change my diet until we did that. And then we like, I mean, he was turned around within that week. Like he went from like, we didn't know if he was going to make it, to he's now thriving. And now we get to take all this home. So I guess, yeah, but in my experience, I realized that nobody makes a major change like that until something happens, right? We don't, what me and my husband says, we don't do anything until we're forced. And especially when it comes to something like health, because it's the hard thing, right? We're always like, that's hard. And I think even in life right now, I think for some reason, I notice it's harder for the men to stay eating healthy, because they're just like, this is all I have left, right? Like even in like the religious world, they're like, I surrender all except for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I'm going to eat whatever I want, even if I know it's destroying my body, and we're going to go from there. Now, what's crazy is that at the time, like we were obviously focused on his health that was declining, and not really knowing, we still don't even know to this day what he had. I mean, we've discovered a couple things on the way now. It was definitely like gastrointestinal, but what our friend at the wellness center said was, look, I hate to be old school, but your computer crashed. So he's like, your body's going to take whatever the weakest point is, and it's going to take you out. And for him, it was his gastrointestinal. He's always had digestive issues, liver issues, just detoxing. So it took him out. And so I didn't really get my own experience until a little bit later. I started to have, we tried to start a family, and I couldn't keep a pregnancy for some reason. Like I had 3 consecutive miscarriages before I got successful with my son. And it was like, so we had the pregnancies, and then I had stuff early on, like, so I'm a photographer, so I use my hands a lot, right? Like I'm taking pictures, I'm editing. And so I started to get carpal tunnel early on. And then I also got kidney stones, and I forgot what else. But anyway, so I started just getting all these
eczema, right?
Oh, the eczema. Yeah. So eczema is very prevalent in my family. Everybody has it. And I mean, it's horrible, right? Like you gotta be careful what soap you use. Everything just irritates it. So then we picked up the juicing. Now keep in mind, this juicer looking thing that's behind you, it was probably a coffee maker, but it looks like my juicer. If I showed you my juicer, it literally looks like a car engine. I'm like, okay, I got to use that every day because it's like taking up some serious counter space. And we got the same juicer that they did, but keep in mind, this is like the Cadillac of juicers. It's like a $3,000 juicer. Okay. I had to finance that sucker, but like when your husband's dying, you're like, would you, payment plan, anything,
Mm-hmm.
So we bought it and we started juicing, and I started noticing these crazy changes. Like, so I've got I'm tan now because it's coming summer and I'm getting in the sun a lot, but I had pretty pale skin and I would bruise easily. And what was crazy is that when I was drinking the juice, all of a sudden I looked like a Dalmatian, the one with all the spots. And like all these spots were like surfacing, but from within, out of nowhere. And it's like, I didn't bump myself and so I was like, okay, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I don't know what's going on. So through that diet change, through juicing, and then we got rid of everything and we just did all organic, whole food, cut out all the, bad stuff. And our whole lives turned around. Like I got back, so I'm being an identical triplet, I'm the skinny triplet. I'm the one that's like been able to keep my size since high school, even after having 2 kids. I'm still the same size, whereas both my sisters are maybe about 60 pounds heavier or so-ish than me. And it's just weird because I just thought we were always going to look that way, like I just thought this is, because I felt like even growing up, my parents, we had 3 other kids older than us. And my parents weren't expecting to have triplets. In fact, they used 2 forms of birth control and still got pregnant with one of the rarest forms of identical triplets by accident. They literally doubled their family when they weren't even trying to get pregnant. So I was like, this was meant to happen, like for you. And it's funny because this whole time I kept thinking that story was like just even being born as a triplet, like it was meant for something, to tell a story, what story is it meant to tell? And, we got in the newspaper back then, and on TV because it was like a big deal. And then, I kept thinking that we were going to do something as a group. And then we just turned 40, like in December. And I'm like, maybe I was born to stand out, not as a group, but like me as an example of somebody who has done something. Like I've always had a strong need to take care of my body, a strong desire to take care, like it's a temple, and like I need to take care of it so that I have abundant energy, so that I can do the things that I want. I can, have that same energy that I have, with my kids and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty much given me all that. So it's like, it's such a good perspective of like an apples to apples, to see that like, here's the same, that it's like, it's not just my sister. This is like the closest thing you can get to another you.
Yeah.
But then eating differently and seeing how that affects your body and what it does for your health, for your energy, for everything.
That's like scientific data right there.
Right?
To show people, a lot of people will say, oh, well, my dad was diabetic and everybody else is diabetic, so I'm going to be diabetic because it's genetic. And there's this thing called epigenetics. Epigenetics is where you have your genes that you're born with, but it doesn't mean that those genes will be expressed. So lifestyle factors, environmental factors, internally, what's going on in your brain can express certain genes. So if you're living the same lifestyle as your family, then yes, you probably most likely have a higher chance of getting, say, diabetes.
Right.
And so it's you can't like use that as a way of not taking care of yourself. Well, I'm going to get it anyways. Well, that's not true, because diabetes is a lifestyle disease. And so change your lifestyle. So what you're expressing is that, look, scientifically, look at this. I look different than my sisters now. We are identical triplets. And I've changed, my lifestyle is different and the way that I eat is different and I'm healthier. So just because my sisters are this way and we have the same genes doesn't mean I'm going to end up that way.
Right. Yeah, it's like modeling and shaping, the clay that you were given, right? Like this is just a starting point. Wherever you drop in, that's a starting point. That doesn't mean that that's where you're staying or that's where you're getting off the train, right? So it's like now when I go, I don't really do a lot of Western medicine. And if I break my leg, obviously, but like, I know so many like hacks now to take care of myself that, I come in and diagnose it. Hey doc, I got carpal tunnel. Is there anything you can do? Or should I just try to fix this? And I've just learned all these things now myself, but it's hard because, with Western medicine and what it's done, like the fact that, I'd go in and they'd ask me a couple questions, or they wouldn't ask me a question. As soon as I say, hey, I'm having this problem, and they're like, they just write a prescription, and I'm all, you didn't even look. I just felt so like, okay, but here's the thing, you can't blame anybody, because whose body is that? That's your body, right? You own that. So own up to it. You know what you're feeling. Who knows your body best? You do.
Absolutely.
So it's like, how you're feeling, what works, what doesn't. That's the only reason why I haven't really got into the medical field. I have a lot of people hit me up about, little businesses come out, they're health related, and they're like, oh man, you'd be perfect at this. But like, I've never found anything that I could really connect to, because I'm just like, I'm just very all about truth and authenticity. And it's like, I don't want a shortcut. I am doing it a little bit the hard way. I juice. So my kids, okay. So just to give you an idea, my kids get nothing but fresh pressed juices. They have fresh pressed orange juice every day. I make orange juice popsicles and, berry popsicles, all kinds of stuff. Everything's organic. They get green juice, carrot juice, celery juice. So like I do, and then obviously all the foods, home cooked, organic, whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. I still like order out DoorDash, sometimes, but I still try to keep it healthy. Like, hey, let's get some fish or something like that. But, a lot of people ask me, so my kids are 7 and almost 9. And they ask me, how do you get your kids to eat healthy? And I will never forget when I was younger, before, like when I was pregnant with my first son, I saw this video of these. There's a line of, they look like Indian women. They were all sitting in a row, a bunch of chairs. And there was like, I don't know, maybe 20 of them, right? And they were washing their babies on their lap, but like vigorously. Like they had a baby and they had this soap and they're like, and I'm just like, what? That's a baby. Like, be careful. But then I realized you create their normal, right? So it's like, if you want to know how my kids eat healthy, it's because they were born into this. This, thank God, happened. Our like crazy health story happened before kids. And we were so grateful. I remember when the doctor came in and said, like, we were crying on the third time we were in the emergency room, and we were crying and hugging. And he was like, he's going to be fine. And we're just like, no, we're just happy that we're young enough that we can make a change, because we're not set in our ways, and we can, and now when I go to the doctor, if I ever have to go for anything, they're like, well, what's your family history? And I'm like, I'm just going to skip that part because it's not relevant, because it's not like, no, I'm not co-signing on that. I am not going to, I have diabetes, I'm going to have a heart attack, I'm going to get cancer. No, I'm not saying I'm not going to get any of those things, because you're right. There is some stuff. I believe everybody's walking around with cancer at some level. It's just, are you feeding it or are you fighting it?
Yep.
So like I fight it every day so that hopefully I don't get it. I also, do other things mentally to keep calm and to, do other things, for self-care to take care of my body. So it's not just the food, but let's be honest, it's mainly the food. That's why we're in this virtual kitchen right now. It's like so appropriate for this conversation, because it's like, that's where we spend most of our time. Like, yes. When did what we eat, if we are what we eat, when did it become so low on the level of priority? Like, oh, I don't have time to eat, right? Like society has made us so busy. Oh, I don't have time to do that. Who has time to do that? My kids won't eat that. They will if that's the only thing in the house, and you just took them from soccer and they come home and they're starving. They'll eat those protein balls. They'll eat those, this, that, whatever. So it's just a matter of modeling, right? Even though I homeschool both my kids, I realized you're their first teacher anyway. And it's like, you just have to model what you're looking for. So it's like, I didn't start them on kale smoothies. I was drinking it myself, and they're like, can I have some? And then they drink it all. I'm all, that was mine. Okay. So then I'm like, let me make some more, and then you can have some, but it's just a matter of like, yeah, I mean, I'm just there, I'm modeling it, they're getting it. But see, now my kids, it's a matter of everybody has to know why. So it's all about third-party verification. So it's like, I'll put on a health documentary just while we're eating breakfast, like about the gut. And the next thing you know, my son's eating breakfast and he's like, Mom, is this purple cabbage good for my microbiome? I'm like, oh my gosh, could you like say that in public? That makes me sound so smart. Like it makes me look like I'm killing it. Like, because I just was like, I want him to like the idea to go in his head to go, yeah, what's important? So now, I mean, he drinks my green juice like he's doing shots at the bar, and I'm sitting here like, did you drink mine? That was mine. My daughter's a little different. On the other hand, I think she has some digestive issues that I'm currently like curious about, like, you're kind of this and that. Maybe this raw, vegetables isn't good for you. Maybe I need to do something cooked. So like now, right, you have to pivot as things get older. Like, yeah, it used to work, but now it's starting to upset her stomach, or she doesn't want it. So it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, open your mouth, put the funnel in, and you're going to drink this because it's good for you. Like, no, I mean, imagine if you didn't want to drink a green juice that I made for you. I'm going to be like, you're going to drink it, Thermanda, and you're going to like it. Like, no, I'm going to be like, well, what's going on? Why not? It gives me energy. I feel, that Mario, he gets the star. That's the energy I get. You don't feel that way? No. But now his dad doesn't feel that way. Like for some reason, my husband, it's different. Like we all have these different levels. And I remember when I went to an acupuncturist, she was like, what's your strongest level? Is it, this? And I'm like, what? And she's like, there's like 4 different systems. I forgot what they are off the top of my head, except for the one that was mine, which was absorption. And I'm like, yep, absorption. That's my strongest suit because I can absorb that immediately and get that energy. So this is me. I don't drink any coffee. I have it now. I'll have it once in a while socially. It's like coffee now to me is like drinking. It's like socially, if they want to go, I don't mind, I'll get one, but I don't need it to survive. It's a stimulant. Imagine if you've ever tried to get off coffee and you start getting migraines.
My husband.
Does that sound normal? Does that sound like it's a good, even soda, you drink soda. What's the first thing you do? You burp. Why? Because it wants to get out. It's like, that's, carbon, right? Like it's not supposed to be in, like we breathe that stuff out and you're putting something in that it wants to get out. But the biggest thing is, so even if my kids want something carbonated, like we found these, probiotic soda, super low sugar, root beer flavor. So I'm like, all right, you want a root beer flow? You can use this, with some nice cream over here that I made, And, but I tell them, if you're going to drink something carbonated, you have to do it away from a meal. It has to literally be its own snack, because it's the carbonation that neutralizes your stomach acid. And then now your food's just sitting there putrefying until your acid builds back up again. So I'm just like, the reason why we used to only drink soda when, like at Thanksgiving, when we intentionally ate too much, and then we're like, my stomach hurts, stop the process, give me some 7-Up. That was like really supposed to be the time we do it. But what does most people do? They get a burger, they get fries, they wash it down with the Coke, and then, oh, I have a food coma and I don't know why.
That's so interesting.
why.
I never knew that. And
Yeah, so
I never cared for pop. That was never my thing, even as a kid. But I take like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before, like 10 minutes before each meal, to build up my stomach acid.
Oh, nice.
Break everything down. Because what I found, that how when people have heartburn, and then you take like an antacid, and then you want, so the doctors tell you it's because you have too much acid in your stomach. But it's actually the opposite. You don't have enough. Wow. So you feel that heartburn because the food is building up in your stomach, and it starts to kind of leak out a little bit.
Yeah, like kind of go back.
Yeah, and so that's very interesting. And I didn't know that the carbonation does that.
Yeah, so once I heard that, I thought, wow, that's interesting. There was this guy that I was talking to. He got me on one of the books that I followed in the beginning. It's a book by a guy named Jordan Rubin, and it's called The Maker's Diet. And this guy had Crohn's disease, and he was wasting away. So naturally, I thought that that's what my husband had. So I'm like, well, let me read this one. And since the Wellness Center, I watched all their videos and read, some of the books in their library. I went and bought all that stuff, used wherever I can, to keep the cost down. And I had to deep dive into that, because if I'm going to sustain this lifestyle, and I'm the caretaker. I mean, I literally had to quit my job and go onto his work site and juice for him every hour on the hour, just to get him back to work so we can be getting money. But then I needed to heal him. And then it got to, okay, every 2 hours. And then it got to, okay, a couple juices a day. And then now we're good at like one a day has been good. In fact, I tried to up it. Like anytime we're sick, it's kind of like probiotics. Like if you don't need to take them every day. If you're eating healthy, if you're eating a healthy diet, you don't need them. But if you get a little sick, that's the time to like, I need help. Like give me a little extra. So it's the same thing with juicing, because if I juice too much, if I drink a green juice after 3 o'clock, it's like drinking a Coke after 3 o'clock. Like I'm not sleeping that night because of my absorption. I'll have so much energy. It's crazy. So then when people are like, man, I wish I had your energy, or they talk about the kids, oh, I wish they had their energy. I'm like, I have their energy. Yeah, I'm like trying to do the athletics for the homeschool kids, because I'm like, I have energy to burn. I don't know where to put this. Like, but it feels amazing to have that kind of energy though, because most people want it. And then they're like, whoa, how many cups of coffee have you had today? I was like, 0, like crazy, right? I mean, I literally got from one conversation from a stranger. It was a new homeschooling family that had just started meeting with our group. I just gave her like a testimonial of juicing and how it's changed my life. In just one conversation, she went out and bought the $3,000 juicer and my $200 citrus juicer that was a little bougie, but like, I don't have to touch the orifice. I'm going through this a lot. I keep breaking the little plastic ones. I want like a stainless steel, and she went and bought them both. I'm all, okay, am I just that good? Or should I be working for these people? Like, I think I should be getting like some kind of percentage here. No, I mean, I was just, so then of course my first thing is, okay, I need to call her and find out, where are you at right now? Because obviously you're at a place where you're ready to make that kind of commitment. That tells me that you're struggling in something and you're ready to make that change and you're serious about it. But she was also studying health and was kind of in that field. And then, she was having some, we usually go down that path because that's where our path led, right?
Yes.
Like with your path, right? Like you've had it for a long time. Whereas me, it's like, I didn't have issues. I was always this size. I just wanted to maintain this size, but I've definitely leveled up the health, like to have that abundance of energy, especially being a mom who's with her kids all the time. Like, it's a lot. So,
like most people listening will be like, what? Energy? What is that? And that's what we all, you're modeling for us to what we can how much energy we can have, and your absorption, and all that stuff is, we want that.
You can have it too. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that I love sharing was a fortune cookie that I got a long time ago. I used to tape it onto my desk everywhere I went, but now it's obviously in the head. And that is, you have time for anything that you're committed to.
Yep.
So people are always like, well, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the time to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. Now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, how can I cut some corners? I'm getting a little more money in. How do I find, a little bit of like food prep or something? Cause it gets exhausting. Like, is this my life? Like, why did I get a business degree? And then I'm like barefoot in the kitchen making homemade tortillas. Like, this is not what I signed up for. And so, I'm just kind of getting to that point where I'm ready to share my story, because I have, so much more to share. It's been a crazy life, from just having that health crash and then both of us getting healthy, but then it's just opened up so many more doors, like me homeschooling my kids. That wasn't the plan, but it was like, when you're thinking about what's best for your kids and you start really looking into everything, like questioning everything instead of just accepting it. Like, one of my triplets sisters had a kid at 18. I had my first one at 30 or 31. And my last one didn't end up having kids. She's actually in the process of trying to have foster kids. So it's like, here we are, triplets, we were on the same path. And now she had kids and was at her honeymoon while me and the other one were at prom. And then I had kids after getting my degree. And then the other one is a elementary school teacher, and she's wanted kids for quite a while. And then now they're about to foster. And it's just like, I love my life. This is so cool that I get to be a young mom, be kind of like I'd say a normal age mom, but homeschooling. That was crazy. And then now I get to hopefully get this foster experience. It's so amazing to see, because I still feel like we're always kind of like apples to apples, being like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I like what you did there. And oh, I'm not going to do that one. That was kind of a whoopsie. So it's just, it's cool to, cause I always, you always obviously want to be like, well, let's have babies together. You look like my old best friend, Selena. So it's just like, hey, do you want to have kids at the same time? But it's actually better, because then they were able to support you much better. Like, hey, can you go get me some food? Because I feel like a beached whale. And I'm like, if we were both beached whales, like, who's going to help us? We're just misery loves company and everybody's out of luck. So I'm like, I like this, because she's like auntie of the year over here. Like, everybody loves you because you're so involved because you don't have kids. I'm like, kind of, want to see what you're like as a foster mom, to be like, that's full time. Remember, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start a family because I'm alone and I want to have people. And then it's like, you're never going to be alone again. Like, so just enjoy where you're at. Like, I keep telling my sister that, like, it was like when I was pregnant, and I knew once I learned from my doula, like I just told my best friend, hey, I'm if she's like, oh, are you calling to tell me you're pregnant? I'm like, yeah, why would you say that? She's like, well, because I'm a doula. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, I had no idea what a doula was, like, when I was pregnant, in the 30. And then all of a sudden, I learned all about, natural birth and then I realized my mom is a rock star. I used to think she was a hippie because she had us at home. So that was also a big thing I forgot to, I left out. She had triplets at home.
Holy.
Full term, 1 6.5 to 7 pound babies, full size triplets at home with 3 midwives. I'm like, I used to think I worshiped her until I had my own kids. And I'm like, I have a shrine in my closet. I'm like, I don't know how you did it. Like, this is impossible. And so I asked her, she's like, well, my best friend had 4 kids. I had 6. We would literally throw you guys in a room with a bag of potato chips and hot dogs and was like, good luck. We're going to go drink our coffee over here. It was just like, yeah, seriously. Cause I'm like, cheaper by the dozen. Like, I kind of wanted to do quality over quantity. Like, cause it's like, my husband originally wanted to have 4 kids until we had 1. And I was like, he was like, how many kids do you want? And I was like, I don't know, I was thinking 2. And he's like, I think 2 is selfish. And I'm like, 1 is 0 is selfish. Like, how is 2 selfish? And he's like, well, don't you like having a lot of siblings? I'm like, yeah, and I'd love 10 puppies, but I'm the one taking care of them. So I need to budget my energy. I feel like every kid took like 10 years off my life. So I'm like, I don't have enough to give. I'm sorry. I started late. If I got pregnant the first time, the first go around, maybe I could have had a couple more, but by the time it worked out for us, I'm like, check please. Like I'm good. So
Yeah, it's so easy for our husbands to say, oh, I want more children, because they're not the one with most of the responsibility. I mean, yes, they have responsibilities, but it's not hands-on responsibility. It's so different. It's so draining. It's a lot of work. And they don't realize that, oh yeah, let's just have more kids. Oh,
yeah, why
okay.
not?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just easy as that. You go birth them and you nurse them. And, when they call for, because I could be like in the kitchen cooking and my husband's on the couch watching TV after work. And the girls will walk right, I have 2 daughters, and they'll walk right past him into the kitchen while I'm, cutting all the vegetables and stuff like that. Mom, can you help me with this? You do know that you have a father, right? Like you can go to your dad for help as well. Do you understand that? And so, they don't get it. Oh, well, why can't you just do this? Because it's like constantly every 5 minutes, mom.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you know how I balance that?
Okay.
So I've come up with a hack. Okay. So 2 things. So number 1, I used to think I liked cooking, but it's just because I had to cook. But I bought myself, I do have aprons that I wear when I'm cooking, but I intentionally bought myself a chef coat so that when I put that on, it's my uniform. When mom has this on, no questions, unless someone's bleeding, I don't want to hear it. It's like my boundary. Like you see that on like, oh, okay, she's working, she's at work. That was me telling them I'm at work. Obviously, when they were little, I had like a retractable baby gate that I would just do, because it even told my cat's like, is that chicken I smell? I'm like, get out. No. So, I mean, we have 2 cats. They're kind of like a little exotic breed. It's like a lynx bred with a domestic cat. So they kind of act like dogs. They're really cool, but they're a lot of work. They have to eat like wet food 4 times a day, and I got to feed them and work that. So I'm just kind of like, I can't handle more kids. I already feel like I have 4. So I'm like, I got 2 cats and 2, and then I homeschool, and then I'm trying to make it all work. And I'm just, so I learned that when you set clear boundaries, it's helpful. So, and what I do though, to help the point stick is I'll go in when they're like fully engaged in doing something. Like, let's say my son who loves the video game, he'll be right in the middle of a video game. I'll get right in front of him. Like it's my husband watching TV, right? Like, hey. And I'm like, do you want chicken or fish? And they're just like, what? And I'm like, here's the recipe I was going to do. And I was like, I need a half cup of this. And they're, what are you doing? And I'm all, exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you busy? Oh, I should have known because you had the door closed. Like, so I just at least show them once so they can be like, I see. Okay. So when you're there, don't, but even if I'm in the kitchen, if they have to walk by, I've started to realize, okay, well, here's my kitchen island. This is my side and that's your side. You can come on that side if you have a question, but I don't want you coming in my zone where I'm moving back and forth. I'm going to run into you. I'm going to elbow you. You're right at elbow height. I'm just like, but for the most part, I'm just like, it's just kitchen is closed. If I'm in here.
Yep.
And there's times too where the kitchen's actually closed. Like, hey, all the dinner and desserts done, kitchen's closed. If the lights are off, no, we're not going back in there. So just like wrap it up now, because you just want to be done. Like, I don't want an extra dish in there when I've finished everything. Like, don't know, like last call, So I think boundaries are really healthy, especially with having kids, so that they know what's up. Like I make dinner and I'm like, this is dinner. You can have more of it if you want, but I'm not making something separate. This is dinner. But yet I still usually have them be a part of it. So like I'm teaching them how to shop on Instacart, because I mean, I order so many groceries for produce and stuff. Like I need that delivered, streamlined, so I outsource everything that I can, but I'll have them go through like, what do you feel like having? Well, here's my phone. And they'll just kind of go through and like, oh yeah, let's do the bell pepper steak with the, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I have them do it, because if they're part of it, then they know what to expect. And then I know they're going to eat it. Cause I'm like, you ordered this, you said you were going to eat it, so you're going to eat it. The same thing with their lunches. Like, I'm not going to pack you a lunch or make you some breakfast that you're not going to like. I'll just kind of show them as an example. I'm not, like, I'll say, oh, I'm going to make some avocado toast. Anybody want some? Like, I'll ask you if I'm making some myself, but it's like, don't come to me if you're 9 now to be like, Mom, can I have some avocado toast and a peanut butter apple? And I'm just like, sure. And then he's like, well, can you get it for me? I'm like, oh, there's the question. And I'm like, no, I'm busy. Can you help yourself? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not busy and you need me to do something, like you're doing homework or something, okay, great. Yeah, I got you. Or I said, look, I'll make dinner, but my job is to just provide food and shelter for you. I don't have to make you something. I don't have to be the one to use the apple slicer and to pour the sunflower butter all over your, can you not do that? Can you not open a jar? Or,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just my whole goal. I mean, in just homeschooling my kids is to make them independent, but
Yes.
not just doing that, but to help them understand why it's important. Because there was one day where I got really bad food poisoning. I just ate something wrong and I couldn't move. I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. And my husband usually works from home and he's just like, oh my gosh, I have the busiest day and I just can't be here. I'm so sorry, good luck. And I'm like, and I just Instacarted some like bread and peanut butter jelly and some like raw milk with cereal and just like, and told my son like, good luck. And yeah, like, I mean, the house was a mess, but we all survived and he took care of his sister and everything worked out. So it's like, it's really important. They were young at the time. So it's really important to teach them these skills that like, you can help yourself. And when I can't do it, I need to know that you can, you know how, but you also have to make things accessible for them as well. And provide the options so that they're making healthy choices because that's all they have to choose from. So not helpful when you have somebody that's, somebody in the house that constantly will like, who got the donuts? Like, eat that in your, like, I'm not saying I don't, every now and then, like I got my Reese's Pieces, like, oh, they're coming. You know what I mean? Like once in a while, but like I hide that from them because I'm like, I'm trying to set a good example here. They can't see me like, but I'll always try to find like a healthier option. Like my son's birthday's coming up. I'm getting all organic, dye-free candy for this tiny little piñata. He's got them all. Let's get a really small piñata because this is the first year they want a piñata. And I'm like, what's up with the piñatas? So, but I'm like, it's going to cost me like $50 just to get like top of the line candy. That's, but then I tell them like, I give you one regular Skittle and like crazy. And then I give you this one and you're all right. So I'm like, it's, I've learned too much now. It's hard to,
yeah.
So you just want to teach them because I'll say, oh, you want to have that? Oh, you want a hot dog at the fair? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, sure. I don't like to tell them no. I'm like, go ahead. And I said, let me know how you feel in an hour. And then they always come back, oh, Mom, my stomach hurts so bad and no more hot dogs for me. I'm like, mic drop. Like, I'm not doing it. I want you to make the mistake now so that you know that it's not making me feel good. And this is not, so our kind of family saying when it comes to food is love food that loves you back. That's it. Let's go through and pick food that loves you back. You like strawberries? Great. Let's get strawberries. You like blueberries? Let's pick some things that you like and let's pick something new every time, and there's Daniel Tiger, that's, I don't know if you know that series, but it's like, it's a remake from Mr. Rogers, which like, shout out to Mr. Rogers, right? And I love, they have this one episode that talks about, you got to try new things because they might taste good. And so I'm out shopping with my son. It's rare that we actually have to shop ourselves because we just usually have everything delivered. But, we make a pit stop to like grab something quick. And then my son's walking across all the color different bell peppers and he just starts grabbing one of each. And he's like, Mom, can we get these? He's like, you got to try new things because they might taste good. I'm all, I can't say no. How can I say no? That's adorable. Like the fact that registered for you and that you're willing to try like something new, like I'm so proud of you. So those are those moments that make it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear that you're, for one, you're teaching your children how to make decisions, the best decisions for themselves, and also to learn the communication that their body is telling them, and to trust what they're feeling and understand, hey, you don't have to feel like crap. You can feel good. So here's what it feels like to feel like crap. And here's what it feels to feel good. What do you want?
Yeah.
And you're teaching them young so that when they're adults, they know how to navigate the world in a better way.
Yeah. That's why, the food is such a big deal. Like if I just sent them to regular school, I mean, they're going to want the Oreos and the Lunchables.
And they're like, oh, it's not fair. My friends get
But it's mainly, it's because it's social, right? And like, does it taste good? Yes. But like, can't you find yourself like not eating it? Like you can't stop eating it. And then I tell them it's because there's chemicals in there. Now, we all know about the MSG, right? One interesting thing that I found was that they are now able to call MSG natural flavors. which is on almost
It
everything.
is.
Now, granted, because MSG got a bad name, so as soon as it's got a bad name, we got to rename this. How do we name? Well, it technically is a natural flavor. It's a flavor enhancer. So I call it MSG. I forgot exactly what it stands for. Who cares? That's boring. I call it so good, because that's pretty much what it is. It makes everything taste good. But the problem is that it's a chemical that they put on there to make you eat more than you need to, so that you get A, addicted to their product, B, you can't stop eating it, so you're going to finish the whole box, and boom, now you got to order more. So I'm just like, once in a while, like it's my son's birthday this month, I'm like, what do you want to get? You want to get some Oreos or something? I mean, it's a once a year thing for him, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm not that mom that's like a sugar Nazi. I'm not like, oh, you can't have it, but I'm like, I'm going to do my best to provide the best options for you. But then if you want to do something and it's your time and you know, it's your party, like whatever you want to get. But I also hang around with people who eat the same way. It's very helpful because it's just a matter of socially connecting. So it's like, we've now developed a pod of kids who are in a learning center together where they all eat healthy. And in fact, one of them is a chef that does catering. She became our lunch lady. So if we wanted a hot lunch, it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I can't even believe we manifested that. It's like, we got a lunch lady who's going to provide food that I would actually, you know, pay her to, you know, make something. And then, but it's new for them, but then they're all in these cute little bento boxes that matches. And so everybody just feels like, ooh, we got that. But, you know, they might not eat that at home, but they're with their friends and their friends are eating it. So it's like, if everybody brings certain snacks together, then the other kids are willing to try it. And then next thing you know, they might find something that they like, that they know their friend eats. And then you're just like, boom, there it is, you know? So
that's amazing. Yeah. It's so much easier when you surround yourself with people that you want to be like, and it keeps you accountable and it makes you feel less alone. And your children get to see, hey, this is can be normal too. And having someone that is that chef, that is amazing. Like, I need to manifest more people around me who are doing the same thing, and it will make it so much easier. But I want to go back to you know, your story that you're saying is you're keeping it like for the food with your children and the way that you perceive food. And I want to go back to the MSG too, but first I want to talk about this. Is you're making it a healthy relationship. So for me, I started because, you know, food is medicine, and I started realizing the food that I was eating was causing undesirable symptoms within my body. So I started getting fearful of certain foods.
Wow.
And didn't really realize it until it came into my awareness. And when you're fearful of a certain food, your body reacts to it. So say there was a food that might have been okay, but now you got it in your mind that this food is going to hurt me. Well, you're going to have a bad reaction to it. So especially like with cross contamination, because in my house, I do only cook one meal. I'm not doing multiple meals for my family, but there might be some ingredients that I might add later for the rest of the family that I cannot have. And just the cross contamination, like, oh, I can't believe you just did that. That could hurt me. And so I started feeling like it was really off balance and not becoming healthy at all. So I'm working on that. I'm not as bad as before. I'm starting to like have a better relationship with food, like loving it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love food, but I'm talking about like the certain foods that I deemed as bad food, and it really isn't. So what made you keep that balance?
Well, you know, it's funny you should ask that. Like I said, I just turned 40 in December of this past year. And never in my life have I had depression. I've never experienced it. I've always been a happy person, always had a smile on my face. I think everybody loved having me around because of my energy. And then I did this health program because I'm very interested in health. So I kept I would look into it. It was like a hobby of mine. And I found this program, And it was really interesting because it was talking about eating with the seasons, and it was just really like spoke to me. So I looked into it because I wanted to start teaching my kids, like, well, if you eat what's in season, that's what we were supposed to be eating. Like, I just go back to like the, the old times, right? And like DNA and what our bodies used to. Like, I found out that if you eat sugar, that tells your body that winter's coming, because sugar, like even in fruit, in natural fruit, right? It tells your body that it's summertime, because summer is when most of the fruit comes out. And then, but if you're eating it, it tells you that winter's coming. And what do you do on the winter? You bulk up. You usually put on more weight because if food's going to be scarce, right? There's not animals or plants or berries, like if it's snowing or, depending on where you're at. So then your body will bulk up and save all those calories in case you need it, so that you don't starve. So it's like, it's not your fault. It's the way our bodies are meant to be. But the problem is we have fruit year round now. So it's like, we're constantly eating sugar, like way too much sugar. So this program, this is where curiosity almost killed the cat, because I was doing the program, I was about halfway through, and they got to a point where it was really good, because the first, I'd say like 6 weeks were all food psychology. So I liked it. I didn't really need it. I was a little bored because I'm like, I know that the acronym for the standard American diet is SAD, right? Like, it's very sad that that's our standard American diet, but look at the Americans. What do you see from us? Oh, we have money and we're like, what's riches really? It's food. It's like, right? Those are the riches that we have. And like, you could tell, like, we're all got so much, riches just stored in our bellies, and just, right. And so it just to live like that, and what it does for your body and for your self-esteem and for your energy, it's just crazy now seeing like both sides of it. But I guess my point is that, so when I was looking into this program, I ended up getting to it, like they do all whole foods. So they start having you like eliminate stuff. Like, so they talk about like your little food devil and your food angel, the food, and they talk to you like, so what is your thing saying when you're trying? They didn't even have you give up anything for like the first 2 weeks. They're like, no, have all of you want of whatever you want. If you want Oreos, eat a bunch of Oreos. They don't want you to make any changes. They just want you to notice what your body's feeling. And okay, so when you put something in your mouth, it was the decision that you made to eat that felt good. It's not the chocolate ice cream that made you feel good, because think about it, 30 minutes later, you're like, oh. So to me, what I loved about the program is that, and what I got from it was our emotional connection to food.
Okay.
We have an emotional connection. So think about the ice cream for a minute. Like, they said that people used to get their kids ice cream, like let's say they're at like a fair again or something, and they're just like, oh my gosh, these kids are just everywhere and they're running around, and I just need them to sit down for 1 minute. They're like, here, let me buy you an ice cream. So you buy an ice cream and you sit down, and you get that break of them sitting there eating their ice cream slowly, and and you're just like, oh my gosh, a break, we're not moving, this is awesome. But there's also ice cream equals love to the kids, right? They're like, you love me because you got me ice cream, right? My kids hear the ice cream man. We've never bought an ice cream from an ice cream truck for my children, but yet every time they hear it, they like light up the ice cream man, and I'm all, yeah, the poison man. Like, no, we wouldn't eat that. Like, I can get you, if you want ice cream, I'll get you ice cream. Or I make something, and my juicer also makes what they call nice cream, where you use bananas and then you can add any other fruit on it, and that gives you the creamy texture. But then you can flavor it, and you can put, dark chocolate chips on top, or you could do whatever way you want it.
Awesome.
So when my kids are like, can we have ice cream for breakfast? I'm like, you can have an ice cream for breakfast? Sure. And they're like, yay. And I'm like, yay. Like, this is a win-win. So it's just nice to be able to say yes, to give them but I also want them to have a healthy relationship with their food. So I still struggle sometimes because, my husband likes to, get treats here and there. I've since lost my sweet tooth now that I've done so much work that I still like certain things, but I've even had like all my amalgams replaced, like all this. Literally, I didn't do drugs, when I was growing up or anything, but my drug back in the day when I was like in, junior high school, we literally took, you remember that dry Kool-Aid mix, but that was pre-mixed with the sugar, the big pack that was already, so you didn't have to add sugar, you just dump that in. Yeah, we used to eat that dry with a spoon and if we start running low, we just added more sugar. like literally eating sugar. And so then we never had cavities growing up. And then finally my parents take us to the dentist one time, and my brother has 4 cavities and we're like, ooh, busted. Then my sister has 6 and we're like, oh, dang. And then the next one has 8. And we were just like, wow, I had 14 cavities. I don't know if they were into the Kool-Aid mix as much as I was, but that was just my thing. And I had 14 cavities, and my parents were situationally poor with 6 kids they weren't planning on having. So I had to get all these amalgams, which, you know, they're actually mercury. If people don't know, they're called amalgams. It's just the, you know, the black in your teeth, right?
The silver fillings.
The silver fillings, right? So once I find out that that's bad for you, and it's not just bad because it's in your mouth, it actually, like, I've watched movies where they, like documentaries where they show that, like, there's something constantly omitting from it every time you just barely touch it. So it's like when I was having my health issues of multiple unexplained miscarriages and other health, what I thought was age-related things like carpal tunnel. And I mean, yeah, granted, I was, you know, overusing my hands, but it was like carpal tunnel. I had kidney stones at 22. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm obviously doing something wrong, but we don't learn this in school.
No.
How to take care of your health. And you know who else also doesn't learn it? Doctors. They have like maybe 1 class of health and that's it. So I support a group. It's called the Food Revolution Network. It's this guy. He's okay. We're all familiar with Baskin Robbins, right? The ice cream.
Oh, is he the son of the founder or something like that?
He was the son of the founder that walked away from the Baskin Robbins fortune.
I saw his documentary or something.
He's amazing. I love him. His name's John Robbins. He walked away because he's like, I cannot inherit a business that takes people's health from them, because he had health issues as growing up. And he's like, how could I support that? It feels so inauthentic. So him and his wife moved to some little village, excuse me. And he moved to some little like house on the lake or something. And they had a kid and they raised him healthy. And now they have this whole movement called the Food Revolution Network. And what I loved about them is I donate to them. It was the only place that I felt really called to donate, because they have petitioned for the medical board to insert more classes on nutrition for doctors in the so that you can't become a doctor unless you take these classes. And they were like, fine, but you come up with a curriculum because we don't know what to teach. I was like, I will totally, you know, donate to that cause, because I feel like they need to know that more. I don't want to walk into the next doctor's appointment and they're not even considering like, well, what have you been eating lately? Or what, you know, like they don't ask any questions. It's just like, but granted, we're the same way. We're like, hey, what pill do you got for this? And it's like, it's called, you know, asparagus. It's called celery. Eat 2 and call me in the morning. Like, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear like, how can I naturally detox my body, or how can I get to the point where I'm feeling good, I'm loving life, and I don't have any, to where you now have like full control over your food, to where I can have a donut if I want to, but I don't feel like I have to. If I walk by like, ooh, free donuts. Well, they're free and they're right there. It's like, and when my kids say they want something, it's little crap. I have no problem throwing it away if I like buy a dozen and then I only eat 1, and then I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling that. I can throw them away because it was crap to begin with. It's trash to begin with. To me, like I was in the mood. You know, if I smell Cinnabon, I'm like, I'm in. Like, but I don't buy that stuff. So I had to have this like awkward conversation with my husband about like, he's like, oh, well, why, you don't want to be the bad guy to tell them no, they can't have it? I'm like, no, because I can't either. I don't have self-discipline when it comes to that stuff. I have the discipline not to buy it, but I don't have the discipline not to eat it. If all of a sudden you hit me, I had a hard day, you hit me at the right time. I mean, sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling really clean. I don't want to like, you know, put that on my stomach right now, especially if I just did like a cleanse or something. I'm like, no, that will like totally crash me. But then there's other times where you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm feeling it, but it's like, everything's supposed to be in moderation. But I don't want my kids to get an unhealthy relationship with food by thinking that ice cream means I love you, or, you know, cookies means happiness. It's like, no, it's the decision to have that. But then there's that sugar. I can give you something with natural sugar that'll still make you feel good. So it's like me providing regular orange juice popsicles and then also just changing up the flavor. I mean, full pulp, so that it gives you like something more to bite on. It's not just hard like ice. Like a pulp gives it kind of a creamy, you know, taste. And there's something about organic oranges versus unorganic oranges. They just taste like water and they're so drained of color. And like I got a deal. I try to make friends with everybody that's in the service industry for me, because it's always helpful to have friends to be like, hey, you guys still, I know you're closing down your farmer's market. I'll be right there. Like, can you got 2 bags for me? And like, you become a patron for so long, they start giving you discounts. You're like, look, I'm buying 50 pounds a week. Can you, like, some of them are bad. By the time I get that, can you like give me a little discount? Cause it's like, I'm supporting you guys. And then, yeah, they're amazing. And then, so I have all these like orange juices. So I make all these kind of, different variety of popsicles, so that there's like the variety. I kind of change with the seasons, try to throw something in that makes it feel like it's different, so that it, doesn't get boring, but have healthy options, so that if the mood strikes, you have something to go to, and that you're not, because they said you don't want to be hungry. If you let yourself get hungry, whatever standard you were trying to stay at, it's going to go out the window. So they're like, have healthy habits, and then you need to start right from the beginning. So
you got to prepare
eating
yourself
healthy at breakfast, or having healthy options during the day. So like now I'm kind of running out of time. I used to make all my salad dressings from scratch and prepare the salad and make my own croutons. And I'm like, I'm getting a little tired. Now we don't even get to the croutons. We're like just dipping the bread in the butter garlic sauce that we would normally bake them, but we're like, oh, this is so good. And we're just snacking on them. We're not even putting them on our salad. And then now I found like some different healthy salad options that are like pre-mixed that I always like a big salad at lunch, but like I'm in the mood for something different. Like I want Greek, or I want barbecue chicken, or I want, so then like I found places that like offer, little prepackaged salads, but I'm still trying to like really narrow it down so I can kind of like give those resources out. But right now I'm kind of like changing up. Well, I know most people want to cut corners, and I wasn't doing that. So it's like, no one wants to hear about the long way, the hard way. They're like, just making this change is already going to be a nightmare for me. And it's like, trust me, I've been there. I cried the first week I got my $3,000 juicer, and I stuck a carrot and it shot up to the ceiling, and I was like, what did I do? And then I just like melted to the floor, because I just like threw everything away and started organic, all my spices, everything. It was like so overwhelming. But it's just, you have to start small.
Yeah.
Just start small. Like when people want to make a change now health-wise, I'm like, and I go for baby steps. I'm like, well, let's start drinking more water. You don't have to take away anything, but just start drinking more water. You're going to drink coffee, drink some water first. You're going to drink a soda, drink some water first. Like increase the water. Then we start phasing out what's not good. Let's stop drinking the pop. Like we don't need that. You know what I mean? Like I don't drink my calories anymore. I don't like that. I feel like I want to reserve it for the food, because I also love food, and I don't want to spend my budget on a drink that just feels like, well, now I'm full and that looks delicious and it's best when it's fresh, but I'm full now because I, filled up on a, Shirley Temple or something, something fun, or just alcohol, whatever, right? Like any of that. And that's hard too with the alcohol. It's like, I'll have it, if I'm, social, whatever, but it's just like, I'm not going to drink it every day, because it's like, I spend so much time detoxing my body so that I can stay healthy. Why am I going to intoxicated, right? Like I'm putting in toxins when I'm trying so hard to get them out. So it's like, yeah, I definitely want to get to a point where I can manage life in a way that I don't need stimulants to do it. Most moms, I feel like I find the experiences, they drink coffee to go up and they drink wine to wind down. And I'm just like, but don't you want to find a way to where you don't need stimulants to do that? All of a sudden you're out of wine or you're out of coffee. I mean, the money alone, I've said, well, organic's expensive. Well, if you exchange the coffee bill and the wine bill, you can easily put that over to the organic food bill. And then if you start eating more plant-based versus, I still eat meat, but I try to eat, I'm encouraging more, meatless meals, trying to find ways to get more in, because the meat and the dairy and all this so expensive. The only milk we drink is raw milk and raw cheese. And even people who have lactose intolerance, they can still have that stuff, because it's the complete protein. It's how it's supposed to be. So I'm just like, I love it. But, of course, my kid spills the milk, and they say, don't cry over spilled milk. Well, that was $8. You don't understand. Like,
yeah.
So, but now I'm trying to manifest like abundance of money, so I don't have to cry over spilled milk.
Yeah.
I have people that like get the whole milk and then they water it down to the, to really make it stretch them all. But, I have to get the most expensive, smallest milk, because once you open it, it starts to sour after 3 days. Like milk is supposed to. So it just starts to change the flavor. And then it gets to a point where it's just really sour. And you're like, is this like kefir? Can I still drink it? Was that bad for me? Like, cause I feel like I almost feel like everything's a lie. Like all the things that they say not to do. Oh, don't touch raw eggs or salmonella, or don't drink raw milk. They need to pasteurize it. And it's like, it's those things that are actually good for your gut and your microbiome. And it's like, they actually build you up, I mean, obviously like do it under the right conditions, whatever. You don't want to be drinking sour milk, or if it was left out in the sun,
Mhm.
but like just, I guess it's more learn for yourself, right? You own your
Yeah.
path. The reason why I never got in the health field or medical field, because I realized that it's such an individually tailored path, right? You have your genes, you have what your body can and can't eat. So it's like so particular. You really have to own that yourself, like really sit with it and go, well, what does my body respond to? What does well, what does not? I found out, when I'm studying all the diets, the blood type diet, like I started like not wanting meat so much. And then I realized, oh, according to my blood type, I'm supposed to be a vegetarian. That makes sense. But I also learned with the whole curiosity almost killed the cat, that like my husband's like, why do you keep searching for the Holy Grail? Like, you're good. What are you looking for? And I'm just like, I don't know, to help others, I guess. And I'm just interested. That's like my hobby. I'm just interested.
Yeah.
But I realized that that program nearly took me out, because I was making these smoothies. They called it an alkalizer, and it's like an alkaline and energizer kind of natural smoothie with food, right? They're not selling any, oh, put this supplement in or whatever. No, it's just, okay, take the avocado, take the, cucumber, but it was almost, I guess, I felt like a detox smoothie, but a way to get in like a lot of vegetables. But I literally got to a point where I'm already high energy, and I already my green juices. Like I finally had to stop drinking my green juices while I was on that program, because I'm like, this smoothie, I had too much energy. I literally got to a point where I had insomnia. I could only sleep 2 hours a night. And then I got to a point where because I had so much energy, I just couldn't fall asleep. And I'm like, okay, this is not working for me. Like, I mean, sleep is very important to me. We haven't even gotten to that, but it's a huge part of like taking care of myself. But when I was doing the shakes, for some reason, I got to a point in the program where they had us, like I reverse engineered it to realize that they kind of had us on a dairy-free keto. And I guess I've never been into ketosis before, but it put me, now I don't know how well or how familiar you are with keto, but from what I looked into it, the keto diet was developed for kids who have epileptic seizures, to correct epileptic seizures, like to stop them, it prevents them. It just so happens that putting your body into ketosis helps to snowball a fat loss effect. So then of course it became a fad diet. People are jumping on, they're getting great things, but it's not meant to be a continual thing.
No.
Like even for the kids who have the seizures, it'll even usually correct itself in a few months, and then they usually don't have to stay on it long term. So it's supposed to be maybe 2 months, 3 months max. But so when I was only on it for like, I don't know, 2 weeks or something, but it like did something chemically. And I'm like, if that's correcting neurological stuff, what is it doing to my healthy brain that was totally fine? And now I'm depressed, and I've never been depressed in my life. So I didn't know how to, like, I had nothing to be depressed about. So my husband's like, what do you have to be depressed about? My twins, what do you have to be depressed about? I'm like, nothing. I don't know what's happening to me. I felt so out of control. This is the first time in my life I felt not in control of my own body. I can't sleep, and I'm depressed for 22 hours a day. This is the worst feeling in my life. So this led me to a burnout, and it just completely crashed, because I'm also homeschooling my kids for the last decade completely by myself until this last month. I found a learning center pod thing that's working out. And it's like, I'm recording this because they're in it right now for a 5-hour drop off. And I'm like, this feels amazing. I feel so free right now. So it's like, of course that'll flip anybody around out of a dark hole. But for me, it was really my body. It wasn't like external, like I love what I do. I love my life. I love my husband. I've been with him for 25 years. He was like a high school sweetheart kind of thing. I have these beautiful children. They're so smart and cool and healthy, and I love being their mom. And I'm so just like, why do I feel like, I mean, even my cats, I'm like, I just want to get rid of everything. I'm like, get rid of you guys. Good luck. Peace out. I need to go survive right now. I was in thrive mode, but I went to hardcore survival and I was like shaking. I literally got to a point where I was shaking. And I talked to a friend of mine who knew homeopathic medicine. She finally got me on something that was able to take that edge off, because I was really scared. I mean, my husband he goes, we're all believe in health because we've had his experience, but he's like, I want you to also get an SSRI prescribed just in case. Like, I want to have everything backed up so that if you get to a peak, like, you at least have something that's going to help you. So I'm like, okay, so I fortunately never had to touch it, but I did get, something. But then I went to see a naturopath, and she got me on some supplements, and it was just through some natural vitamin supplements that I got to re-chemically balance. And it literally only took me a month, and back to good again, like that. And I'm just like, you can't tell me this isn't real. It's not diet. It's all diet. Like, I was getting those things through my food, but I was so depressed and so sleep deprived. I wasn't cooking my healthy food anymore. So now it's just like constant takeout, everybody's eating like crap. I'm like feeding my kids probiotics, like, stay healthy, good luck, But I also felt like I was so depressed. I just wanted it to end. And it was a very scary feeling. I just was so, it was like I just had to kind of face my own demons. And then I started thinking what my husband said about, why do you keep searching for the Holy Grail? And this kind of brings me to my point of a book that Tony Robbins just came out with. He's a very popular, speaker, right? Motivational speaker. He wrote a book, I'm trying to think of what it was called, something about life force. It's called Life Force. I haven't read the book yet, but I got to hear an interview that, my coach, Kathy Heller, had did an interview with him, and it was amazing. He said that I knew that all this energy that I was getting, I had so much energy, and I'm like, I'm with you. I feel the energy. He's like, I had so much that I felt like I was going to kind of burn out or maybe get cancer or something. And I literally manifested that, right? Because like energy goes where, where focus goes, energy flows. So it's like, so he's like, you can't think of what's negatively going to happen. Like, sometimes once in a while, I'm like, I'm the healthiest person I know, and watch, I'm the one that's going to get like a terminal cancer. And like, you know what I mean? Like, just, there's a split second that's like, it'll just be, because it'll be ironic. Right. And then I'm like, don't think like that. Don't think like that. There was a part of me that thought there was going to be a major change at 40 but I thought maybe it was just going to be like metabolic. I didn't think I was going to like want to take my life or walk out on my family, that I'm totally happy and I love my life. Like, what? That's so crazy. Like, how? I just couldn't imagine I could feel that way. But then I flashed back to when my husband was in his worst health point. He said, I never used to think that people couldn't control their emotions. I just thought it was BS until I was there, and I was just like bawling for no reason. I was having all these crazy dreams. And he's like, it was really scary. And it's because his system was all thrown off. So it's like, it's really important to find that alignment, to really take the time to find your path, what you need. And you just start with making small changes, right? Drinking water. I'm not saying even juicing organic, right? It's like any juicing is better than no juicing at all, because are you going to sit there and eat 4 carrots a day? Or how quick would it be to just down an 8 ounce? Like, that's like half of my water cup here, right? Like, oh, look, it got clear. Yeah, that was cool. But I mean, 8 ounces is only half of that. Like, and carrot juice, I mean, it's sweet, right? Like, it's sugar. Some people even that are diabetic can't have carrot juice because there's so much like natural sugar in it. But like, so I do the green juice every day. It's just, and I don't change it up. I'm not one of those people, like, I even have a juicing community on Facebook, but people are, oh, what kind of juice did you make? Well, I make random stuff here and there, but the green juice is always the same. And that's the standard daily, because it comes from the Gerson therapy, which is a cancer healing diet. They actually heal cancer and other degenerative diseases. But because in the US, you're not allowed to say that you cure cancer unless it's with chemo or radiation. So they had to move their whole operation to Mexico so that they can still be close, but be like, okay, well, you guys say we can't do that, but we had 50 we wrote a book that had 50 terminal cases that we turned around that you guys gave up on. So you can't tell me, and they have documentaries where the doctor, well, they don't have no proof. Oh no, they're quacks and whatever. And it's like, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
The chia pudding,
That's like a whole nother episode right there.
I know,
like
right?
How things are backwards, and it's by design, and all that kind of stuff. But before we wrap up here, for those of you who are on YouTube, you could tell that we're in a virtual kitchen here. Like, I was playing around. We're on Zoom, and Zoom has like this new option and
virtual features.
Yeah, and
that's so appropriate though, right?
Yeah. So we, before we hit record, Rachel and I were having a little bit fun and laughing about how, like Rachel, she looks like she's a little kid right now because she's so much.
Mom, can I have some? Yeah, right.
So, and we spoke about how laughter and just having fun and playing like a child is so good for the soul and good for your health. And so it's just for those of you that are watching us, it's if you're wondering like what's going on here, that's why. But I mean, it works out perfect because Rachel has like this brighter light on her, and she's sitting in the sunlight, and I'm a little bit darker, and I'm more in the shadow. So it works out perfect.
It looks legit, right?
So, thank you so much for coming on the show. And before we go, where can the listeners of this podcast find you?
So I'm just in the process of starting my own podcast. Health and wellness is going to be like a chunk of it, but it's called The Abundant Village. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook under The Abundant Village. That's kind of where I'm trying to send people right now, because I'm trying to, so being a homeschooler and being literally born with a village, you know, like with my sisters, I never felt alone. I always felt like I was part of something, until I moved out to LA and I realized that I had to do the parenting thing on my own. And it was the loneliest I've ever felt. And I just remember driving by this huge billboard that said, "You're invited." And I realized that that's what every person wants to see, right? We all have this deep need to belong and connect. And so I thought, wow, that's so interesting. Like, I just want to, but then nobody was doing anything. So then I took it upon myself to be the one to step out of my shell. Just to give you a little background, I'm the shy triplet. So like, she was a cool one. She was a funny one. I was a shy nerd, had glasses even for a little point. So I was always standing out somehow. And I hated that. But now I realized that I was born to stand out, literally, even amongst my sisters. But I had to literally create my own village because I kept trying to fit somewhere and it just wasn't a fit. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm going to plant my flag and I'm going to just radiate like all the love and everything I'm looking for. And things just kind of gravitated. We didn't even know, like, we got a band here. This is amazing. I love you guys. Like, it's like, so I now want to take that a little more global. Like, I feel like we've got it down like locally, and I'd like to, some people have moved away because of COVID, and COVID's changed a lot of things, where we would like to be able to share these kind of topics and be able to, like, I kind of see myself more as a curator. I did this like passion finder test, and it talked about, like what you were meant to do. And they said that I'm a curator. And I was like, that's funny, because I used to meditate and pray, like, what is my gift? What am I bearing? And they said, I got the answer that I gather people. And that's just my thing. I'm so used to, I was even the mediator with my sisters. I was the middle triplet born, and I was actually the runt just by like a half inch or something. But I was just like, because I was always in the middle going like, calm down, guys, calm down. It's okay. Like, we got this. And so I just was always that, like, I just wanted to fix it. I just peace, love, and I see myself as someone who just wants to have a platform for people like you to be like, okay, I'm very passionate about this topic, health and wellness, but also about homeschooling and minimalism and, just relationship maintenance, because I've been with my husband for 25 years. I have had to maintain that. That is not easy. So I just want to share those topics. But so since I kind of felt like I had a broader, like, I love that I've been able to kind of network and find people like you who just kind of do a little more of a deep dive into the stuff that I'm really passionate about, so that I can even give you a platform to share your story and for people that are ready to like go deeper and move on. So hopefully you guys can join us in the Abundant Village. Let's be abundant together, manifest abundance, right?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to connecting with you more in the future. And yeah, you definitely got so much energy. I wish I could just reach and just take some of it.
Just take it.
Thank you so much.
I'll make you a green juice next time, and we'll just like get it in the kitchen.
Yes, just put it on here. Hold on. Put it on the counter and slide it over.
Yeah.